to invite Tom Exler up to introduce this year's Courage to Shine winner, Jessica Sanchez.
Well, thank you, everyone. Courage to Shine was an award that I started back in 2010. I was going to Australia to speak, and there was a guy there that we wanted to give an award for. But I said, well, why don't we just make Courage to Shine the award? And so we gave it to Tom Flood. And what was great about Tom Flood is a year later, I get a letter from the Governor General of Australia. And it was what they wanted to nominate him for the Australian award. So then I knew I had something, and this is the sixth winner. And each year we wanted to bring someone up here to show a real, true role model. And the idea is so they can be online to support families around the world. There isn't a week goes by that I don't get a letter from a family who actually believes that they're actually helpful to read one of these stories. So, just so you know, it's courage-to-shine.org is the website. And I want to leave this because we have limited time here to introduce our winner this year. Our winner is Jessica Sanchez.
Hi, everybody. Oh, are my slides going to be able to be up there? Hopefully. Well, while we're waiting for slides, I just want to say thank you to Tom and to the Courage to Shine Association for the honor of being this year's recipient. And I'm excited to share a little bit of my story and my journey with you. Well, I can start my intro while they're getting that. So my name is Jessica Sanchez. Some of you in the room may know me by my maiden name, Jessica Croshaw. I was born with classic bladder exstrophy, and bladder exstrophy was simply something I've been born with and not the only thing that defines me. I am a wife, a mother, a sister, daughter, worship leader, administrator, friend, and woman of faith. All right, so I was born on March 30th, 1990 to Alan and Sherry Croshaw. I was their first child, and as many of you in this room can probably relate to their experience of surprise when a doctor came into the room after my birth holding a textbook saying, "I think this is what your daughter has." That conversation led to an emergency flight here in Seattle to Seattle Children's Hospital. And that's where I met Dr. Michael Mitchell. And I had my initial closure at only hours old. My mom wasn't able to fly up with me initially, but Dr. Mitchell called her from the operating room once he had closed me up and said I was going to be just fine. And her very first question to him was, "Is she going to be able to have kids?" So, thankfully, his response, I believe, at some point was something like, "Let's just take it one step at a time." Spoiler alert, I was. I went on to have a total of 8 surgeries. I had 3 major surgeries, 5 minor surgeries. And thanks to the surgeries that Dr. Mitchell performed and the power of prayer, I've always been able to empty my bladder on my own. I've never had to catheterize, and I was able to stretch my bladder to normal size. You gotta love all those Kegels. As I mentioned earlier, I was my parents' first child. They went on to have, that's doing a mind of its own. They went on to have their 2 more boys. I was the only girl with 2 silly little boys in that picture up there. And they didn't have any birth defects. They were completely normal. And growing up, we had what you would call a typical normal childhood. We would play, we'd have fun, we'd go camping, do all sorts of adventures. And I just had to go to the hospital every once in a while and have a couple surgeries and heal. But other than that, life was pretty normal. I was very blessed with a family that always treated me like a normal child, and like I was never a burden, and nothing was ever presented that life was any different. Maybe. Next slide. Oh, there we go. Okay. A huge part of my upbringing was the Northwest Exstrophy support group. This was a group, I don't know if it still is around, but when I was young, it was a group of us that would come together once a year for family campouts, and then we'd get together at conferences and do fun activities such as go to the zoo and just really bond with people with Exstrophy. My parents joined when I was a year old, and as I grew up, my mom became a huge organizer and lead within the group along with Nurse Ginger Nelson. This support group got together once a year, and it normalized Exstrophy for me. It was a place where I could go and see people that had scars just like me, who had been through surgeries, who knows what it's like to wake up in a room full of other crying kids. It was a way to normalize Exstrophy for me. It also got me to talk with other girls that had it too, which was huge. We would compare belly buttons and talk about our surgeries and what boys we liked and just fun things year after year. And a lot of those women I still look up to and keep in touch with today. As I grew up, everything was pretty normal. I did dance. In high school, I went to high school dances. I was on the dance team all 4 years. And that is where I began to really start being open about my Exstrophy. During elementary school and middle school, I kept it kind of quiet. But once I hit high school, I was like, I don't care. I got some scars. I'll tell you about it. And in 2007, there was a Exstrophy conference here in Seattle, and that was the first time that I spoke publicly about my experience with Exstrophy. And it's all thanks to that man in the middle, Dr. Michael Mitchell. So, I owe it all to God and to him with my story. My parents had the choice of going to Spokane or Seattle Children's when I was born, and their choice, because we had family in Seattle, I truly believe altered my experience with Exstrophy, and I feel very blessed to have worked and been a patient of this man. He is a world changer, and he's been a world changer in urology. And he is still doing incredible teaching and volunteer work, even in his retirement. And I believe he's in Wisconsin now. He's pretty incredible. I met my husband, Philip, when I was 17, in my senior year. And we were first married in 2012, or 2012, wow. I always knew I wanted to become a mom. And we welcomed our first child, Adeline, in 2015, and then our second child, Avery, in 2017. I was able to get pregnant easily, and I've heard that's often the case with women with Exstrophy due to our vaginal canals often being shorter than a typical woman, so it usually can make it easier to conceive. And I delivered, I carried both of them almost to term. Adeline came 3 weeks early at 36 weeks, and Avery came at 4 weeks early at 37 weeks. My pregnancies up until that point were very normal. Had good checkups, everything checked out right, and then I chose to deliver via C-section. That was under advice of both my OB and Dr. Mitchell, who had told me when I was 16, it'd probably be best to have a C-section. And I know actually a few women that have had natural births with Exstrophy as well. But I chose just to be on the safe side, didn't want to mess anything up, to go through and have some C-sections. I know my mom is super happy to know her will she be able to have kids question was answered. Life as a working mom is busy, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I have led worship in multiple churches since I was 14. I enjoy being super extra on the holidays and birthdays. Just ask anyone. I can plan an event like no other. And I treasure every single minute with my family, even those pesky two brothers of mine. I began my working career as a teacher and then eventually became a K-6 instructional coach. And then when Philip and I divorced a few years ago, I decided to get my master's in educational leadership. I'm now a vice principal at a middle school, and I love every second of it. I get to advocate for both students and families. I get to sit in on a lot of meetings for 504s and IEPs, and I feel like that really, having my experience with Exstrophy helps lend a hand and show compassion and show exactly how I can help other families that need that as well. Plus, I get to oversee ASB, which gets to do all the fun stuff in middle school, so that's always a plus. Life can be funny sometimes, and after 2.5 years of us being separated and divorced, Philip and I reconciled, and we actually got remarried in October of 2021. It's a beautiful story, and if you're a person of faith, like, it was God and God alone that got us back together, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm only 33, and I've experienced a lot in life, but it's shaped me for who I am. My story is unique, sometimes messy, but oh so beautiful. For all you parents here today, BE doesn't define your child. It's something that makes them resilient and creates strong leaders who can make a difference in the next generation to come of Exstrophy patients. And if you're here today as an amazing individual with BE, I'm so glad you're here. And I hope you'll make connections with those of us who have it. There can be a lot of scary things that come, but not everyone can say they have a man-made belly button or rock a whole bunch of scars. So, thank you.